The South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Welcome in, Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex, things have gotten interesting on the ice all of a sudden.
And I'm Alex White. That's right. Hockey season is not over yet. We have a couple more to come.
Yeah, it might be
Couple more. One for sure, but we'll give our thoughts.
Might be a little bit tighter. Let's just go that a little bit tighter for the Florida Panthers at this point, as things have tightened up in that series. Sean, let's just swoosh it across the screen. Let's just get it going here. There we go. Was that a cheer? A cheer this morning from Sean, who's back from his weekend, because Sean has the fun weekend on Monday and Tuesday here on the show. All right, let's get to it. Number one, we just mentioned it. Game 6. Connor McDavid said we got to drag him back to Alberta. Guess what? You're getting dragged back to Alberta, Florida. Edmonton, that game was 4-1 and got to 4-3. Felt like the tables had flipped. Florida seemed to have the better of the play. But then an empty net goal with under 30 seconds to go for McDavid pushes the Oilers and the Panthers back to Alberta for a Game 6. Connor McDavid's now your betting favorite to win the Conn Smythe, up to, or I should say, shortened all the way down to minus 160. We did talk about this between Game 4 and Game 5, Alex. Probably was the time. If you liked McDavid, take him in between instead of the Oilers series price. Now it's way better than the Oilers series price on the Conn Smythe.
Well-deserved favorite here. I mean, he could actually win this without the Oilers winning the Cup. He has been so impressive in this series. Number 2, though, Garrett Cole makes his season debut for the Yankees against the Oilers today. The Yankees, $1.47 favorite. Total in that one, 8. Right now, Yankees did win that first game 4-2 yesterday over Baltimore.
Aaron Judge getting imaging on his hand. The Judge wants to play tonight. Yankees maybe a little bit cautious like they were with Soto after he hurt himself before that humongous Dodger series. Keeping it with baseball, number 3, a dynamite pitching matchup down there in Atlanta. You don't think Ronaldo Lopez, but Ronaldo Lopez has been amazing for the Braves. If he had enough innings, he'd be the NL's ERA leader at 1.69. Tariq Skubal, who, of course, is the betting favorite to win the American League Cy Young right now, plus 160, goes for Detroit right now. Braves, -1 and, well, a little less than -1.25, -124 in that one. That just moved a few seconds ago, Alex.
Had to sneak it into the starting 5 because we have more golf starting early tomorrow morning. Travelers Championship gets rolling. Scotty Scheffler, the favorite again, 4-1 in Connecticut. We'll give our thoughts and maybe even some early plays looking ahead to that tournament.
Rory McIlroy, of course, withdrew after his collapse at the end of the U.S. Open there at Pinehurst, number 2. Not surprising to see Scotty Scheffler back atop the odds board yet again. And then number 5, we got a lot of things going on, a trio of WNBA games. We have Euro continuing right now, Germany and Hungary underway in Group A action. This is the beginning of the day, the second day of games in the groups. Earlier today, Albania with a dramatic draw against Croatia, 2-2. If you listen to Punchlines yesterday, we all got there on Albania plus the goal and a half yesterday with relative ease. Later game, Switzerland, the only game left today, -115 against Scotland. Scotland got drilled pretty badly by Germany in the first matchup. Switzerland, a comfortable 3-1 victory against Hungary in their first game of the Euros. And that's your starting 5 to kick off today as well. Also, Chris Andrews is going to be joining us in studio in a few moments. Danny Burke will join us later in the program about 9:25 Pacific time. Chris coming in, of course, we lost a titan of the sport of baseball and really just all North American sports. Willie Mays passed away at the age of 93 last night. Chris actually saw Willie Mays play in person, so we'll have Chris on, share some Willie Mays stories like he did last week with Jerry West's passing when West passed away last week. Alex, there's no artful segue, but before Chris comes in, let's look at the hockey that we watched last night. And first off, real quick, this series on the totals, let's just start there real quick, where we get 5.5 again in game number 6, where we talked about after the first 2 games went under that, hey, these are probably going to be 5.5 with the juice becoming worse for the better every single game. Now we're at a point where I think it's like, all right, this should probably be 5.5 flat on both sides with the way this series has played out, because even though Florida won game 3, Edmonton's speed has really taken over this series. And until Florida stopped the bleeding last night, Edmonton dominated 5 straight periods, scored 9 straight goals actually as well between games 1 and 2. And here we are with a shot here at history. Edmonton down to plus 290 right now to win this series. And as we said, Connor McDavid, now your Conn Smythe favorite.
It is 5.5 flat now here at the South Point, and for good reason. This is what I expected to see in this series when I said I wanted to see this matchup opposed to, let's say, the Rangers and the Stars with 2 dominating goalies in net. And those first 2 games didn't play out to what we expected. Last night we had everything that we hoped. We had Connor McDavid playing to his height, and then, of course, Tkachuk and other players on Florida as well. So fireworks, lots of goals. I can't imagine that it slows down. This is still a very tough feat that the Oilers have to do. Winning 2 more, of course, going back home, they are a small favorite, as they should be. But, I mean, and then it goes back to Florida again, and that's where I think we might have trouble. So I still understand why the Panthers are 350 favorites here in this series. Ultimately, I still think that they do win this, but have to see better play from Bobrovsky. I mean, the last 2 games, he has really, really struggled.
Pretty amazing. 2 games ago, Bobrovsky was a $3 favorite to win the Conn Smythe. Now, 2 games later, I think we're both in agreement. I was curious on your thoughts here, Alex. Bobrovsky's down to plus 750 now. That's probably it. I don't think he's going to win this thing with the way this series has now transpired. Conn Smythe, these are from DK. McDavid's minus 160. Barkov's plus 250. Feels like those are the 2 guys, and we're at this point now where we always say, oh, it's going to be from the winning team. We haven't had a one from the losing team since 2003 when John Sebastian Giguère won it, when the Devils beat the Ducks in a 7-game Stanley Cup final in 2003. I don't think we're at the point now where the market's telling you, hey, we don't care if Edmonton loses this series. Connor McDavid's still going to win the Conn Smythe, even if Florida raises the cup.
It's tough, though, right? I mean, if Bob has a shutout here, then I think he still has a very good shot of winning this, and especially after the dominance that we've seen from Edmonton in the last 2 games. If he can turn it around and win this in Edmonton, I mean, even if he only lets up 1 goal, I still think that it would lean to him.
It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out because, again, you look at the way that this market has played out, where McDavid never got north of 10-1. That never happened. Even in a 3-0 series lead for Florida, McDavid peaked in the 6-1 range after game 3. And you could be sitting here with all sorts of like profitable bets. If you had the big number of McDavid, you could come back with a big number on Bobrovsky right now. You could have had Barkov this whole series plus 450, 5-1 for the most part, except for going into this game and going into game 5. That's honestly, from a betting perspective, that's the more interesting market than the individual game or series. I still think Florida's going to win this series. I don't have a bet on game 6 at the moment. We still have a few days to figure out what we want to do before that gets going on Friday night north of the border. But the Conn Smythe market is far and away the most intriguing betting thing in this series right now.
It is very intriguing. It's just shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? At this point, we have the odds that we have, and that's all you have to work with. So navigating and deciding what you want to do here, if you do want to make a bet still on the Conn Smythe. But, I mean, we've got a series. I'm excited. Was hoping we could push the NBA a little bit farther, and now Edmonton has actually pushed us to a game 6.
I'm in the opposite on the NBA. I'm thrilled that we don't have to talk about it anymore with the way that series went. Of course, Boston banner number 18. Ryan, did they ever figure out when they're doing the parade? Are they doing that on Friday? Friday? Okay. You have to go to Miami and taunt the Heat, right? That's the way that it works. Yeah, that sounds about right. on that regard.
They didn't get to celebrate with Florida last night. That's for sure.
They did not. They did not. It did look. I really thought once it got to 4-3 that Florida was going to come back and tie the game. I really thought we were going to get that game tied. But that empty net goal, that whole sequence was nuts. Chuck somehow chases down that puck. The goal stays on his hinges somehow. And then McDavid finishes it off with his 4th point and 2nd goal of the night in a 5-3 Edmonton win. Again, we have until Friday. So we'll have tomorrow's show, Friday's show. A little bit of a different schedule this week because Gone Racing is going on Friday this week. So we'll be an hour tomorrow. Will be our 30-minute show that's usually Thursday on Friday this week. So just be on the lookout. But we will still have Dwayne Colucci on Friday. So there we go. Look at that. Everyone's awake back there this morning, Alex.
So 2 football teams we will go through tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes. Tomorrow, because, of course, later in the show, we go through the New York Football Giants. We will have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders tomorrow on the show. In studio, joining us right now, Montana State on the shirt today. Very nice.
Well, it was snowing there yesterday.
Excuse me?
It was snowing.
It's June 18th?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, yesterday was like the nicest day we're probably going to get until October again here. So,
yeah.
But snow in June.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Somebody sent me a film clip of kids practicing for midget league football and snowing.
Snowing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Chris, just bring you in here. Of course, we were talking about it before the show.
Yeah.
It's been a rough month for losing legends of their sports. Yeah. Bill Walton passed away in May. Jerry West passed away last week. And yesterday afternoon here in the West Coast, we get word that Willie Mays, at the age of 93, in a few days before they actually were going to play the first ever Major League Baseball game in Birmingham as well.
That's crazy.
The Giants and the Cardinals playing on Sunday there, passes away at the age of 93. And Willie Mays was actually brought up on Punchlines yesterday when we were trying to figure out who had the most walk-off home runs. But Chris, neither Alex or I obviously were alive when Willie played, but from all accounts of people that saw him play, arguably, if not arguably, the greatest that's ever done it.
You know, I was very fortunate as a kid, living with my Uncle Jack, who's a fan of all sports, really. We took us to a bunch of baseball games, a bunch of basketball games. And I always said, if there's a good pitcher on the mound facing the Pirates, we were almost for sure going to be there. Juan Marichal, I don't know how many times I saw him, and naturally I saw Willie Mays in all those games. Saw a bunch of other Giant games too, but Marichal was pitching for sure. We were there. My cousin Zach, a very good analyst in a lot of ways, he'll insist that Mays was the greatest player of all time. It's tough to go there. I mean, I never saw DiMaggio, I never saw Ted Williams, I never saw Babe Ruth. But I got to say, in my lifetime, I don't know if I could pick anyone better than Willie Mays. And I mean, I've seen a lot. Naturally, I grew up watching Roberto Clemente, saw Hank Aaron a million times. All the players from the Big Red Machine, blah, blah, blah. We can just go down the line. I saw a lot of great, great players. But you look at Willie Mays, and I know a lot has been talked about, and we brought a lot of it up today. One of the best home run hitters of all time. Missed 2 years out of his peak by serving in the military. And by the way, he came up, I think he was 20 when he came up. So maybe he would have had a year, not being in the Negro leagues. And that might have added, 15, 20 home runs. But had great arm. He loved to play a shallow center field, which, I mean, if you can play a shallow center field, you're going to take away a lot of base hits from the opposition.
The shallow center field gave us the greatest defensive play in the history of baseball.
The Vic Wertz over-the-shoulder catch. Great arm, great field, could steal base. I saw guys today saying he was the best base runner they ever saw. A base runner, not just stealing bases. It's going from first to third, or scoring on, from second, scoring from second on maybe a shallow hit, things like that. So, I mean, he really was the whole package. And, in deference to my cousin Zach, I don't know if I could dispute what he said. Like I said, it's certainly with players that I've seen in my day. But I would also say he had those many years at Candlestick Park, which is, have you ever been to a game at Candlestick?
Nope.
It is not a hitter's park. I
A
can
little
tell you
windy,
right now.
Chris?
Not just windy, but freezing
Freezing,
cold. I think had he played, Pittsburgh really wasn't a home run hitter's park either. But had he played maybe in Atlanta or Milwaukee, he maybe would have beaten Hank Aaron. I think there's a good chance that he would have. I had the pleasure of meeting him one time, shook his hand. It was about a 3-second exchange, but
That's
nice
really
to
cool.
say I met Willie Mays, but boy, he really was a fantastic player. And I think it's so hard to judge because baseball is the one field that is not uniform everywhere. And, and again, had he been in some different ballparks and had he not had to serve in the military, there's a lot of what ifs. He may have broken Babe Ruth's record. I don't know. We could say the same thing about Ted Williams too, but there's a lot of guys like that. But I think the other thing is I was glad to see Willie be alive when they validated the Negro League statistics. Because when those guys came into the league, I mean, we don't know what the depth of the league was for the Negro Leagues, but the top of the league was certainly as good as anybody. I mean, talk about Don Newcomb. Here's a name that's, totally forgotten. Of course, Satchel Paige was at the end of his career there. Roy Campanella, I mean, at the time was the best catcher in baseball. I mean, Yogi Berra might dispute that. But, there's plenty of guys coming up from the Negro Leagues that I'm glad that they really – because, I don't think they were any worse than the major leagues back in those days. So I was glad to see that they acknowledged those records before Willie passed away.
3,283 hits, 660 homers, 338 steals, and only 33 members in that 3,000 hit club. But
yeah,
see,
so when he retired, he was second all time or third all time.
He's sixth in homers now.
Who was in front? Babe, of course, but who was behind Babe? Was it Ted Williams?
No, it's for homers.
Yeah.
It's right now the order. I just have to double check this. It's Bonds is 1.
Okay.
Then Hank Aaron.
Okay.
Then Babe Ruth.
Okay.
Pujols joined the 700 club as well. He's 4th. And then A-Rod is 5th.
Okay. Well, there's somebody ahead of Willie when he retired.
Oh, it was just Babe. That was it.
Just Babe? So
just
he
Babe.
was second all time when he retired? I had in my mind that he was third.
Yeah, just Babe.
So Hank wouldn't have been ahead.
Hank might have been ahead of him.
Hank might have been ahead of him at that point in time. Yeah.
So that would be the only other thing.
But what a terrific player. So blessed early in my childhood. I mean, I remember seeing Pete Rose as a rookie. I remember seeing Jim LaFever when he won Rookie of the Year, things like that. I was just very blessed.
When you shook his hand, was that after a game or?
Oh, no. He was working, I want to say, for the MGM in New Jersey.
Okay.
That's how I met him.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, he had some pretty strong hands.
Oh, I'd imagine. Willie Mays also 24 All-Star game appearances. They did that silliness with the 2 All-Star games in the same season.
Yeah.
Early in his career. So Hank Aaron.
Well, you call it silliness now, but back then it meant something. Those guys played 9 innings.
I get it, because also there wasn't interleague play at that point except for the World Series.
That was a matter of pride, yeah.
Hank Aaron has 25, which will never be broken at this point. I feel pretty confident.
I don't see how you do that.
I feel confident in saying that, unless if someone decides to pull a Julio Franco and can play until they're 51 years old.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you got to be an all-star all those years.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's crazy. But, no, what a player. Again, all the stories that have come out the last day plus have really just one of a kind.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing though. They were talking, one of those, Buster Olney or one of them was on today. We should retire Willie Mays as 24 for all baseball. No, we shouldn't. I mean, I'm all for Jackie Robinson retiring that number. That's very significant. But Willie Mays, he's probably the best. And we're going to retire Babe Ruth number 3. We're going to retire Lou Gehrig's number 4 for playing all those games until Cal Ripken. Oh, then we got to retire Cal Ripken's number. I mean, you open that hole, and I just don't like that.
Yeah, you would think because they did Russell league wide in the NBA after he passed.
Yeah, not sure I'm in favor of that either.
Yeah, well, I would say at this point there's 3 that are in my mind. That would be obviously Jackie.
All for it.
Obviously. if you're going to do it, 21 and 24. Those would be the other two.
I would make, and of course, I'm extremely biased. I'm from Pittsburgh. I would make a case for Clemente because he was the first Latino and also black. And he said some things about that. I don't want to repeat on the air.
Yeah.
But he talked about that. So he had like double prejudice that he was going against. And of course, the way he died and everything. I can see Clemente. And I'm not even crazy about doing that one either,
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think they're just going to stay at 42.
Yeah.
Chris, pleasure as always.
Got Danny Burke coming up.
Danny's coming in about 5 minutes. We'll have our NFL preview.
He's out of Chicago.
Yes.
Can he get us a couple of copies, hard copies of
we have to figure that out.
Okay. We can send them a check.
Send them a check.
Andy Martello did get he has a few coming.
Oh, really?
Oh, Andy got them?
Oh, Andy, too?
Yes.
Oh, God bless. Yeah.
Yes. So
I totally forgot about Andy. How could I forget Andy's Chicago connection? The Blues Brothers story is one of the best ones we've heard on the network, Gary.
Well, and he talks about Malort a lot.
Yeah, just a little bit.
We know he's got a connection there.
Okay.
So, yes, and I'll give you one.
I don't want to get one for myself. I want you to have
Thank
one.
you. I appreciate
that. I'll be okay. You need one. All right,
Yes.
guys. Have a great show. See you later.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
No artful segue here. Let's shift over to baseball today. The biggest story in baseball that's not Grimace related is Garrett Cole makes his season debut today for the New York Yankees. We don't know if we'll see Aaron Judge. Was hit by a pitch last night. Yankees hope to get him back soon. Judge wants to play based off the reports today, but we may not see him. How about the betting market just taking the Orioles today, Alex? Minus 165 open on the Yankees, down to minus 147. So a 15-cent move on the Orioles, 18-cent move, of course, on a dime line on the Yankees side. Total's been bet down as well, 8.5 to 8. It is Povich against Cole as your pitching matchup tonight here in the Bronx.
No play for me. I am in disagreement with the betting market. I know that Aaron Judge is huge to that lineup, so that could be the impact here. But I mean, I still like the Yankees at home, even if Judge doesn't play. But I'm not going to lay that 147. It is Garrett Cole's first start back, so see how it goes.
It'll be interesting to see how long Cole goes. And we brought this up a little bit. I don't remember if I brought this up with Frank on Punchlines or if you and I just touched on it very quickly at the end yesterday. I'm just interested to see how long Cole goes. And just looking at props that are available here, Cole's at 5.5 strikeouts at DK, juice to the over. That might be a little light. I was kind of hoping that we were going to get a 6.5 from one of these books, maybe even a book's not paying attention and it's 7.5. 5.5 might be light. Now, here's the thing. You're going against Baltimore, one of the better lineups, and they make contact. The big question mark here, more than anything, on the Cole end, of course, like I said, comes back to how long is he going to pitch? Alternate strikeouts, 8 is plus 275. I wouldn't do that. But I was really hoping for a 6.5. I really was, because that would have been the one. All right, maybe that's priced a little better for the better. Take it under. Here, 5.5, I think, at the juiced over, I think that is right.
I do too.
Because at that point, even if Cole goes 5, Cole's still north of a strikeout, more than a strikeout an inning. I think that number's right. It's a solid number made by the books there.
How about that Dodgers game last night? And I heard you guys talking on Punchlines. Ryan kind of went for the Rockies as an underdog 2 games ago, and he had the stats where the Rockies had outplayed the Dodgers. The Dodgers still won. And then yesterday,
oh boy,
with a walk-off to win that, even after should have been a strike.
Well, that was... The Dodgers were down 9-4 entering the 9th as well. Hayward doinks a grand slam off the foul pole. And then what you're mentioning, Alex, Teoscar Hernandez probably was struck out. I can see how the umpire missed it. It was close. It was a swing. Next pitch, 3-run homer. And Rockies can't answer in the bottom half, and that is that. With the Dodgers again stealing one in Denver. 10.5 over is probably okay. It's a Colorado game. It's Bobby Miller and Ryan Feltner. not particularly great pitchers. So if you want to,
Yeah.
you want to go over at Coors, I'm never gonna say no to going over at Coors. That's the one place where obviously things are opposite of where, hey, we usually look for unders more so than overs, but at Coors, it's hard to go under unless if the number's just so astronomically high.
And I think this is okay here at 10.5. As you mentioned, not two great pitchers, especially Feltner for the Rockies. Miller a little bit better, but not the Dodgers' best. So I agree with you. I would look to the over in this one.
The other games on the baseball slate today, by the way, they're underway in Atlanta. Atlanta closed $1.30 favorites in that one with Scooble going on the other side for Detroit. Just looking at the rest of the card, the only other things that really stand out here today, a little bit surprised by the pricing. Well, that's a market play more so than anything. A little bit surprised by the way that the Reds and the Pirates have been bet. I know Keller's the Pirates' best guy, but the fact that got up to $1.37 is a little too aggressive for my liking. If you got Cincinnati at plus 127 behind us, job well done.
Agreed.
I thought plus 118 right now is still fair. If you like the Reds with Hunter Green, we know erratic for Hunter Green, but his good is quite good. High strikeout guy. But that would be one look for today. And then I have to bring it up, even though I know I'm going to bring it up with Danny, because we may Grimace has to fight some extra forces here today, potentially. The Mets going for 8 straight since Grimace has thrown out the first pitch. They're a legitimate flip today with Manaea against Andrew Heaney. 8.5, by the way, I think is light on that total. I think that total is light at 8.5, Alex.
It is funny and talking about Grimace, but really, I mean, you got to give the credit to the Mets. This has been a very impressive 7-game run that they have been on.
The key to the thing that, of course, a lot of people are missing because of the really just the Grimace thing is more funny more so than anything. The Mets are 18-1 in their last 19 when Francisco Alvarez plays. Alvarez, of course, suffered a thumb injury at the tail end of April, and then the Mets completely forgot how to play baseball. So Alvarez being back is critical to the operation. And I mean, 18-1 is obviously not sustainable, but you turn into a 600 win percentage team, you're going to the playoffs with the way that this NL wild card is at the moment. All right, we'll take a quick break because we have more baseball to get to. Danny Burke is going to join us. We also, of course, after Danny, so about 20 minutes from now, the New York Football Giants preview. Maybe a little bit of a rough year for Big Blue, but Alex and I will break them down.
And WNBA plays.
Yes, you have three games. You have some plays today as well to go at the end of the program as well. Danny Burke, next. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
From the South Point Studio, the perfect blend of sports.
But I think the Niners are going to wear them down. Detroit Pistons lost their 36 games.
Comedy.
See over-under on that relationship lasting. I'm going to put mayo in the coffee.
Yeah.
I am beautiful.
And a whole lot of Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Join Ryan McCormick.
That's at least 2 picks outside of our own in the first round next year. Oreo.
And host Frank Nicotero.
When I look at the clock, I go,
Watch Punchlines live at noon every weekday.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White, Ryan McCormick is getting ready for punchlines. Don't worry. Phrasing's good today. Sean and Caden in the corner, as always, getting us on the air, making sure we're at least a touch in line. Don't have to be big time in line, just a touch in line. Now joining us, our good friend, as always, in his usual Wednesday spot, Burke Speed is the podcast and the website. That guy, Danny Burke, but here with us right now. DB, good morning.
Good morning, Alex. Good morning, Jeff. Appreciate you guys having me on. I know we pretty much have the World Series happening later today, so I'm excited to talk about that with you, my friend.
Yes. You're talking about the White Sox, right? I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
I mean, it's of course what it is. Danny, before we get into your plays today, just want to bring this up real quick because we talked about the NL wildcard race about 2 weeks ago with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten even more ridiculous over the last few weeks. You now have, entering today here on June 19th, the Cardinals are 36-36. That's good for the second wild card. We now have, all within a game and a half of each other, Arizona currently on their own somehow at 36-37 have that third wild card. The Giants, the Mets, the Nats all tied a half game back. The Padres, the Reds, and the Pirates all tied a game back. And then your Cubs, who have forgotten how to play offense for the most part, are a game and a half back. Basically, if you're not Colorado, Miami, you're alive in the NL.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with this now? What do we do with this? Do we just go to make the playoff board and just find 2+ prices that we like? Or do we just sit back and wait for July here? Because you imagine one of these or a few of these teams will probably fall out of it once we get to the trade deadline.
Yeah, so let's kind of look down this list here, and we'll start after Atlanta. Let's begin with the Cardinals. Again, we've talked about this pretty much every week I've been on the show. You and I have been synchronized with our thought process on St. Louis, at least until late. I don't know if you've changed your mind, but I took St. Louis under their win total heading into this year, and I still think they are going to falter going forward. Now, they've gotten a lot of help from their pitching. Sonny Gray has been outstanding despite him getting up there in years. He has been one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball. But the issue with them, much like the Cubs, is their lack of offense. I mean, they have a minus 38 run differential, and outside of a couple strong pitching efforts, that's when you really get hurt if you're St. Louis, is the remaining rotation that you have available. And then outside of a couple big bats, you don't really have that level playing field with other guys you can trust toward the bottom of the order. So I think St. Louis is going to fall back. I would not bet them to make the postseason. I really like the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is a team that I thought had value coming into this season, which seems odd to say considering they were the runner-up in the World Series last season, but I think the odds and the sports books really reflected that it was more attributed to being maybe not a fluke, but kind of just a type of off-paper type of run, like something that, wasn't really necessarily expected to be replicated. But you get a guy like Brandon Pfaadt who's actually pitching today and some of their other guys. And if they can stay steady and not show the volatility that I thought was going to hit them last year, which didn't, then I think they could wind up at least in a playoff position once again. And their splits against lefties, they've been tremendous offensively. Right-handed pitching, they struggled at the beginning of the year, but now they're finally getting into a groove. So they're getting more synchronized throughout the entirety of their lineup. I like them a lot. The Giants, great against lefties, against righties, not so much, but their starting pitching is getting healthier. I don't mind the angle on the Giants. The Mets, I don't know what the heck's going to happen. It all depends how much Grimace is going to support them throughout the rest of the year. So they're a big question mark team to me. I will leave them to you. Don't trust the Nationals. I don't trust the Reds, the Pirates, and I don't trust the Cubs until they make major moves. the next team would have to be the Padres. And I would want to invest in San Diego potentially as well, much like I would with the Diamondbacks. But San Diego, time and time again, just seems to let us down. So I'm a little hesitant on San Diego because of that. And also, I think we could probably get a better price on the Padres at some point if we wait a little bit. But right now, if I had to act, I think Arizona would be my go-to team.
Let's talk more about Arizona because you have a play on that game today. They shut out the Nats yesterday 5-0. Now Washington has Patrick Corbin on the mound. You just mentioned it. Arizona will have Brandon Pfaadt. They're $1.60 in this one. Danny, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, so again, with those splits for Arizona, they have gotten better against righties, but primarily against left-handed pitching is when they've made their mark this entire season. They rank second in weighted runs created plus with a number of 123 against Southpaws. They're fifth in ISO at 171 against them. Now, it's not even the fact that they're just doing great against lefties, but against this upcoming left-hander, Patrick Corbin, who has arguably been the worst pitcher in Major League Baseball, it makes their side of this coin even more enticing. Corbin's got a 5.84 ERA. His expected ERA is 6.86. His home run to fly ball ratio is at about 15%. He only has a 5.6% strikeout to walk ratio. So he's walking a lot of guys, not racking up a lot of Ks. His whip is at 162, and he's got a high barrel rate of 10.6%. So opposing teams are just mauling Corbin and getting very powerful contact. And against one of the best left-handed hitting teams in the league, I would imagine that's going to come to fruition once again with Arizona. And then we talk about Brandon Pfaadt. He's been someone who's been on my radar for an on-the-rise candidate in terms of pitchers. Despite his 4.38 ERA, his expected ERA actually displays 3.14, and his xFIP is at 3.58. In the Nationals offensively, obviously not that great of a squad. That's why I don't think they're really a wild card contender. They're going to continue, or rather they're going to start to get on these losing spurts. They're 26 in ISO against right-handed pitching, 25th in weighted runs created plus. I'm a little shocked that the money line price I was able to find minus $1.54. I think minus 160 is more of the consensus, right around there. But it's odd because then the run line, you're only getting about even money at best. I would have envisioned this money line to be more about minus 170, minus 175. So because I'm getting about 16 cents cheaper on the money line and potentially don't have to sweat out that run line with the wind blowing out, I laid a pretty hefty price here with Arizona. They're my favorite play of the day, and I think they come through against the Nationals.
Danny, Hunter Brown's renaissance has been something to see. He's arguably the worst pitcher in baseball in April. And he's really turned it around. He's turned into the guy that we expected him to be. He's taking on the White Sox. It is a crochet day, so numbers may look a little bit funky for some out there with the Astros only a slight favorite on the road in Chicago. But you're not looking at that. You're looking at Hunter Brown himself here today.
Yeah, so this is a prop that I've been circling a lot over the past couple of seasons. It's the recorded outs prop for these pitchers. If you like a team, maybe you don't like their price, maybe you don't like their offense, this is an alternative way to go about it. So I've got faith in Hunter Brown for several reasons against the White Sox. It goes without being said because of how poor Chicago is offensively. They're dead last in weighted runs created plus against right-handed pitching this season. But you mentioned this resurgence of Hunter Brown. Yes, his ERA of 5 flat looks pretty daunting, but his xERA is 3.61. His xFIP is 3.58 while boasting a 4.43 FIP, and he's got a high ground ball rate of 52%, which is really, really strong for pitchers nowadays. And he's really limiting the hard contact overall with under a 5% barrel rate. And over the last 13 innings, he has not surrendered a run. Now, it hasn't been against the most formidable competition, but again, neither are the White Sox. They're not really an intimidating opponent. So if you can stretch out your starter and limit the tax you may put on your bullpen's arms for more important series coming forward at this point in the season, I think that's what you want to utilize if you're the Houston Astros. This is just another great game to build the confidence of Brown, and I think he'll do just that and get over 17.5 outs in this outing against the Southsiders.
Danny, the Padres have now lost 5 in a row. They're trying to avoid a sweep here with the Phillies. And then, of course, Philadelphia has Ranger Suarez on the mound. So it's going to be tough for them. I was looking in their direction to avoid this, though. But you're looking at another pitcher prop in this one.
Yeah, so I'm going with Suarez over 4.5 strikeouts. And I just think this is a pretty good bargain to get on Suarez, who's gotten 6 strikeouts his last 2 games. He's averaging 6.5 Ks overall this season per outing. And he's gone over 4.5 and 11 out of 14 starts. Now, obviously, you have to take each matchup with a grain of salt, right? Everything is different and the context matters. And so this is why the numbers adjusted down to 4.5 is because the Padres have been really strong at limiting their strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. They have the 4th lowest strikeout rate at about 23%. So again, that kind of explains why it's a little bit lower than probably what it should be. So I'm going about like 3/4 of a unit here on this prop, not going too crazy because again, I think it's more of a play just getting this big adjustment on Suarez. And it's not trying to be attributed to recency bias with him getting these past 2 games, 6 strikeouts each respectively, then averaging 6.5 on the year. It's just the consistency is there, and he has been one of the better pitchers, and he could easily get 5 in this game if he can last pretty long. So, yeah, I'm taking a little stab there with Suarez over 4.5 Ks.
One last one, Danny, just going to Tyler Anderson, who has been shockingly good this year. By a lot
Makes
of
no sense.
No, I mean, well, this is multiple times in the last few years for Anderson because, of course, he got the big contract in Anaheim because he was great with the Dodgers. But we are looking to fade Tyler Anderson here today, Danny.
That we are, Jeff. Yes, but I'm going with his under strikeouts 4.5, even money. So 4.5 seems low, but it's really enticing when you look at Anderson's numbers and then see the prop odds at even money. So for reference, Anderson has a 2.58 ERA, which again looks phenomenal. But his xERA is 4.66, his FIP is 4.69, and then his xFIP is 5.09. He's walking almost 4 batters per 9 innings, striking out less than 6 in that span. His barrel rate is high, right around 10%. His expected weighted on base average at 340, and his expected ISO almost at 200. It doesn't make any sense how this guy has not gotten beat up yet. Now, he may actually do well tonight against Milwaukee because they have been pretty poor against left-handed pitching. So it wouldn't shock me if he defies the laws of nature and just performs well once again. But I do think he'll at least be limited with the strikeouts. Under 4.5. This is a mark that he stayed under in 9 out of 14 outings, and he's just really not been a strikeout pitcher whatsoever this season, and they keep giving you the 4.5 on a strikeout prop. And I'm going to take advantage of that with this Brewers team that overall has been good against lefties, not so much. Hopefully that can change against a destined to get beat up pitcher in Tyler Anderson.
He's Danny Burke. Get him on the tweets, Danny Burke5, burkspeed.com, and Burkspeed is the podcast, wherever you listen to your podcasts as well. DB, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for hanging with us today.
Alex, Jeff, appreciate you guys. And Jeff, if the Mets get to 50, I think we have to give you a customized Grimace jersey, right? Can we make that a thing? It's got to hit a certain threshold for that to come to fruition. Alex, hold him accountable on that. We got to make it happen.
So Danny, I will tell you, our friend Isaiah Wrinkle has told me if I go that I have to do something similar if it gets to 10. We might have to figure something out if it gets to 10. Here's the problem, though, Danny. If they win tonight and push it to 8, they have to beat your Cubbies twice. And I think you and I both know what will happen there, where there'll be some nonsense where the Cubs win like 1-0, like those games earlier in the year, where the Cubs took 2 games off the Mets in just nonsensical fashion. So we'll see how it all
You're
plays
right.
out.
I mean, like, it should be very winnable games, but it just would be 2 spots where all of a sudden the Cubs figure it out enough. And yes, it would be in low scoring fashion, 1-0 in like the 13th inning in extras or something just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, recently signed former Met, now with the Cubs, Tomas Nido homers, and the Cubs win 1-0. Something like that will happen.
That'd be perfect.
It makes so much sense. Danny, pleasure as always, man. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right. Let's keep it right here. Let's keep it right here. Before we go into the Giants, we can go to the 3 games today in the WNBA. Last night, real quick, just throwing this out there, Cameron Brink got hurt early in the game. Still haven't seen a report on her yet for the Sparks. Sparks did cover, though, last night.
Full game.
Full game, not first half, unfortunately. And then how about the Mercury last night? Outright upset of the Liberty. Phoenix, again, with wins against both of the teams that were in the WNBA Finals a year ago.
I did say it was a good letdown spot for the Liberty playing against the Aces, but I mean, really, you got to give more credit to Phoenix. They really showed up in that one. They were leading at half, and they just stayed there the whole second half.
3 games today, Alex. Indiana 5 against Washington. Total shocking. Been bet up, shockingly. 167.5. Now on that one. Minnesota is 10 against Atlanta, 162. And then let's just start with those two because the last game of the night is an interesting one because there was news that Becky Hammond made yesterday on it.
I haven't heard that, so you will be breaking news for me. Nothing for me in that first game. Of course, Indiana did beat the Mystics in their first matchup, 85-83. That went over the total there at 161.5. Now the books have adjusted. I think that number is correct now at 167. Washington's still the worst offensive rating in the league, so I expect the Fever do win this one. I just wouldn't touch the point spread there. In the second game, the market has gone against me on one play and with me on one. Last night I laid the 8.5 with Minnesota. Now they are a 10-point favorite. I wouldn't touch it there. But I went under this game. I went under the 161.5, and now it is going up to 162. Minnesota's the second slowest pace after the Connecticut Sun and second best defense. So I like them to keep this one at a slower pace. And the Dream have been a disappointment on the offensive side, but they're still 6th best defensively, and I think we'll see a big effort from them. They do have a revenge angle here going into this one. They lost the first matchup 92-79, which was a very high-scoring game in the first one between these two. But I like the under and lean to the Lynx, but not here with double digits.
The news is Chelsea Gray is going to play tonight. That's what came down yesterday. Aces are 6.5 at home against the Storm. Seattle already has beaten the Aces once this year.
Yes.
Now, of course, Gray didn't play in that game. We don't know how long Gray will be able to play in this game tonight. But, again, the Aces' offense has just now looked the same. Obviously, a lot of people pointed to the defensive end as well, but that offense is just not as crisp as it's been in the past. Total, by the way, from 170 to 172.5, now back down to 171.5.
I went over 169.5 for these two. Both of them love to run. Aces, as you mentioned, I mean, they don't look the same as the past 2 years. Still the second best offensive rating, and this is a huge upgrade for them with Chelsea Gray, no matter how long she can play. So I do like the over in this one. Lean to the Aces, and now you got to look for the best number out there. If you can still get a 170 or 170.5, I'm okay with that over, but now we're getting a little bit too high.
See, the Aces, again, have not been the same team, but with Gray coming back today, again, I don't know if it will be an immediate impact. I definitely don't want to lay 6.5. I can tell you that right now, but in-game, be an in-game scenario, see how the Aces offense looks, and then you can go from there. That would be the way I'd look to play that tonight, just down the road from us at Michelob Ultra Arena at Mandalay Bay later here tonight. By the way, also, I do like the Fever against the Mystics tonight as well. Short and up price, and it really does feel like the Fever have started again.
Money line or
I'm okay with laying the points.
Okay.
I'm okay with laying it. I'm still like, if you want to lay $2, I'm obviously not going to say no if I like laying the 5. But they seemingly have turned a little bit of a corner here. Clark looks a lot more comfortable. We know Leah Boston can really play. The role players have played a little bit better as well. I just am curious here because they've done a lot of this against bottom end teams, and this is another bottom end team tonight that they play in Washington. When the competition gets a little bit better, I'm just curious to see how they look. Friday is actually a reasonable test. The Dream is a step up in competition, but it's not an overwhelming team.
yeah.
So that will be a nice little measuring stick for that young Fever team, who, by the way, at the moment would be the 8 seed in the WNBA, which I'm sure the league would love if a Fever team that was well under 500 found a way to sneak into the tournament, because the rest of the league, again, has been, as we talked about, 8 through 12, not the strongest right now in the league.
I said it from the beginning. They are not a bad team. Took a little bit of time to really connect, but you're right. Aaliyah Boston, very good. And now Caitlin Clark figuring things out on the offensive side. But, I mean, you just have to take into account what they went through for those first few weeks and how many games in a row. And that really played a toll on them. So I'm looking forward to that game against the Dream. Actually, it's a great point. That'll be a great measuring point for us.
All right, let's, Sean, send it across the screen here. Or, there we go. Football on fire. There we go. Team 2. Yesterday we did the Dallas Cowboys. Today we go to the New York Football Giants. The Giants, 2 years ago, everyone called them the NFL's luck box 2 years ago. They made the playoffs, as well as them and the Vikings in the ultimate luck box game in that postseason. Of course, the Giants went on the road, won a playoff game 2 years ago in Brian Dable's first season. Daniel Jones actually looked like a real NFL quarterback. And then last year, all went to garbage. Now, I think you have Jones, of course, suffering that ACL tear, was injured before that before. Tyrod Taylor dealt with injury. We had the DeVito madness for a little bit. But the Giants come into this year with an offseason that I have actually liked. You pick up an elite pass rusher in Brian Burns. Get him in the trade with Carolina. You draft Malik Neighbors at number 6 overall. The Giants just have been in brutal need of a high-end pass catcher. They just haven't had the elite pass catcher since Odell Beckham left. Devin Singletary replaced Saquon Barkley. Obviously, look, Barkley, some teams just don't want to pay running backs. The Giants are one of those teams that don't want to pay running backs. Xavier McKinney goes to Green Bay. Darren Waller, I don't know how big of a loss that is, but it is. Again, that they anticipated having a big role, dealt with a ton of injuries last year, ends up just stepping away from the game in that regard. Malik Neighbors is your only one, I think, that's even remotely there on an award side. 11-1 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Dexter Lawrence had an awesome year a year ago. Thibodeau had a good year as well, even though he had some weirdness at the beginning of the year. More so than anything, Alex, the win total is the most intriguing thing to look at. They're at 6.5. We talked about a division that is still looked at as a top-heavy division. I think it's a little less top-heavy than it's been in the past. But 6.5, the win total here on the Giants, and it is juiced to the under at -140.
I agree with you. I mean, looking at their schedule, you can pick out 6 games. So, I mean, I think that is correct from the bookmakers, but I would lean to the over a little bit. And you mentioned it, really struggled in the passing game. They were 31st in passing yards per game last year. So getting Malik Neighbors is huge for them. They were also 16th, though, in rushing yards per game. So we'll see how Singletary does stepping into that role, because we know their offense really went through Saquon Barkley. So that is a drop-off here. But another thing to mention that they did in the offseason, switched defensive coordinators. Now they have Shane Bowen, who was really good for Tennessee. I mean, he's worked under Vrabel for a long time, and Urban Meyer, and he was very good at the run defense, and that is what the Giants really needed to work on as well. So defensively should step up as well. That could help them get another win or two in this one. I really looked for best play with them, but nothing jumped off the board just yet. And those defensive awards there, just interesting, because we did have Dexter Lawrence. He finished 9th in the voting last year, but of course, very strong competition ahead of him to actually win that award.
Burns is probably your best possibility for the Giants if you're looking at a non-rookie award. Dexter Lawrence is awesome. It's just so hard for an interior lineman to win that award, and I don't even think Dexter Lawrence is the best interior lineman that's playing in MetLife Stadium this year. That goes to Quentin Williams on the other side. But, you know, it's the thing with the Giants, and you bring up the defensive coordinator change, where it really just seemed that Brian Daboll and Wink Martindale just didn't get along more so than anything. The Giant defense, I thought, actually was quite good, all things considered, a year ago. Now, the secondary is remade a little bit. That is a little bit of a concern, but you have a stronger pass rusher on the opposite side of Thibodeau now. Of course, you had Leonard Williams for a chunk of the year last year before they traded him off to Seattle. I'm just trying to find reasons to say, hey, 2 years ago wasn't just a total luck box fluke. And I can't really find them. There is a little bit of a quarterback dispute here. Jones is still going to be the starter, at least as of right now. They bring in Drew Lock, who comes in from Seattle. Lock will likely be the backup. DeVito is still there as well. I don't think DeVito should see the field unless if injuries happen to both of those top two guys. I think the luck ran out with that on Christmas Day. We saw, hey, if Tyrod Taylor played that whole game against the Eagles, probably would have beat the Eagles both times. Remember, that was the only win Philadelphia had down the stretch with how bad it was down the stretch. But look, you look at the way that this New York Giant team is playing, played last year on offense. And you mentioned it. They were horrible with their passing game. And I really do think the big reason for that is you have no game breakers catching the ball. Now, Barkley was a game breaker as a running back, but it's a totally different thing. You can hone in on a running back and really shut him down. Neighbors, I think, has the chance to be the best wide receiver from this group, from this particular NFL draft. Now, this is a great receiving draft, as we know. Marvin Jr., one of the best prospects we've seen in a while. Neighbors, of course, Rome Odunze going to Ryan's Bears. There are a lot of great wide receivers in this draft, but I expect Neighbors to have a big year. Now, we don't have any numbers right now. The last numbers I saw on Neighbors, actually, you know what? These just populated a few moments ago. Nice. Neighbors' receiving total for the year is 875.5. That feels about right.
Yes.
I don't know if again, the question at quarterback is the hard way to go and look at the way that we look at that. But that number feels about right. If he gets competent quarterback play, that probably does zoom to about 900, 950 for Neighbors in his rookie year.
Any interest in the 11-1 on the offensive rookie of the year?
I mean, I think you have to at least consider it. When we get to the Bears, we'll talk about it. I really am high on Caleb Williams. I think the Bears become, and we'll preview the Bears next week. I expect Caleb Williams to push the Bears into pure playoff contention. And if that happens, it's going to be very hard for anyone to beat him. Unless if one of these quarterbacks, if Washington, who we talk about tomorrow, if Jaden Daniels has a huge year, he would be a possibility. Yep. With the amount of starting quarterbacks for rookies that I think they're going to be, it may be hard for a non-quarterback to win. But
yes, very good point.
Neighbors is playing in the right market in order to have some extra votes that he may not have. So 11-1, I don't think it's a bad number. I'd rather have the quarterbacks though on that. Giants right now to make the postseason north of 4-1. I don't think they're a playoff team. I think that 6.5 number is spot on. You told me to go 7-10, miss the playoffs. Sure. You tell me to go 6-11, 5-12. Yeah, quarterback play means a ton in this league, even if their defense is still good. I think they are the definition of a below average to mediocre. This is a non-playoff team. I don't love laying $5, but that price is 100% right, that they should be a nice-sized dog to make the postseason this year.
The only interesting thing for me with this division is we're talking about the Eagles like they are coming off of the 2022 season, right? I mean, they were a shell of that team last year and just looked terrible in that first wild card game against the Bucs. So they have a lot of improvements to make here, and it's not just a guaranteed switch that it's going to happen. Of course, I do think they are better than the Giants, but it might leave the Giants open a little bit to sneak in. I do think Daniel Jones is going to be much better than we saw last year. Went through his bad year, but I mean, he made a lot of improvements from 19 to 22 to get that contract and to get here. Of course, just a really bad start to the season last year and then the injury, but I think we'll see him improve a lot.
Jones had more interceptions in 6 games last year than he did all of 2022. If Jones is turning the ball over, forget it. And you're going to see Drew Lock if that happens.
Yes.
Jones is not going to keep the starting job for long if the Giants are losing and Jones is not playing.
And Drew Lock is a good backup.
Lock as a backup is good. I agree. If he's your starter, you're in trouble. But Drew Lock as a backup, yeah, he's capable. He's a capable backup, more so than anything. But again, this is Washington tomorrow. I think you'll be a little surprised at my thoughts on Washington tomorrow. We have the Eagles as well. Again, I have some reservations with them, even though I love what they did this offseason in Philadelphia, especially at their coaching, at their coordinator positions. But we'll have a full breakdown on both the Eagles and the Commanders tomorrow. By the way, since it was asked in the chat real quick, Alex, College World Series, there's the late game today, Tennessee and Florida State. Tennessee wins. They move to the College World Series championship series. Of course, we saw this matchup to open the College World Series and it was beyond nuts with Tennessee winning 12-11 in that game. The total's only 11.5 here. Minus 165 on the Vols, plus 145 on the takeback for Florida State. Did anything pop for you in that game or no?
According to my dad, we are going under that total.
Going under?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't have a lot of details, but
yeah, the total has been bet down. But
man, I would like to see Florida State win this one.
Make it
make
it a decisive game elimination game tomorrow.
Yes.
It's going to call it a game 3, even though it technically isn't. It would be between these two teams on that left side of the bracket. Again, right now in an elimination game in Omaha, Florida, thanks to a 7-run first inning, is all over Kentucky, 9-2.
Very good.
Florida they're just finding ways. Shouldn't have even been in this tournament to begin with, and they're still alive in Omaha with a real chance to eliminate Kentucky. If the winner of this game, by the way, will play A&M. This is one of those double duty days because of the postponement of this game last night. They would play A&M tonight, which brutal turnaround.
Yes.
Any way you slice it. And, hey, if we end up with an A&M Tennessee final, you end up with the 2 betting favorites from the beginning of the tournament playing in the final. Doesn't work out that way very often in college baseball, but that would be a heck of a series if we got A&M and Tennessee.
Yes, it would. Very exciting series if we get those 2.
Tomorrow on the show, we preview both the Eagles and the Commanders. We're here for an hour tomorrow as well. There's a change in our schedule here at the network where Gone Racing will be on Friday this week as opposed to tomorrow at 10 a.m. So be on the lookout for that. But first, before we go anywhere, we check in with Ryan McCormick, who's been working hard over the last hour to get ready for punchlines. Someone familiar will be with you and Frank Nicotero here this afternoon. As always,
that is true. Yeah, we will have our very own Alex White. So if you'd like some more from Alex White, she'll be on Punchlines at noon today. We've also got a Wednesday tradition in Hump Day Homer Picks. So we'll each be giving out a home run hitter today. Or who we think will be hitting a home run today. We've also got a Who Day Wednesday, so we'll be giving Frank a little trivia with a special connection with people on the date. And then some good posts with punchlines all around sports and good tribute for the man, the legend we lost yesterday in Willie Mays. So tune in at noon.
Looking forward to punchlines, as always. And you never know what will happen. Even though Ryan just laid out a great plan, you never know what will happen on Punchlines, noon Monday through Friday here on the network. All I can tell you, Ryan, I don't want to say I'm frightened for tomorrow to be with you, but I'm preparing. I'm preparing for tomorrow because the legendary insult comic Bob Zaney's on tomorrow. Somehow you avoid Bob Zaney the last
I was here the very first time he came in, yes.
You had that honor. Then I was here.
Yes.
And now I get Bob Zaney again because he's doing the Dennis Bono show here on Property on Thursday. So I'll be ready.
Have to be on your toes.
I have to be on my toes. My toes might not exist by the end of it because of how high I will have been on them from being on alert for Bob Zaney. All right. Tomorrow we're back, as always, 9 a.m. Alex, great job. Sean, Caden. Caden quiet in the corner today. Very quiet day for Caden. Wonder if he got enough sleep last night.
He's been working hard on our graphics.
Caden is working very hard right now to get some animations, more than even just the flying football coming later in the week as well. We'll see you again tomorrow. Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio.